Hi guys, I uploaded my Berlitz Assessment for your reference, so you may also want to review that, and I hope you can learn something from it and enjoy it. See you.
I'll be the one conducting the assessment. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. And yourself?
I'm also great. Thank you so much for asking.
Good.
Okay. So for the assessment, we're just going to be having a conversation. I'll ask you some questions. Please, of course, answer in complete sentences and don't hesitate to expound and elaborate further.
Sure, definitely.
Now, I also need to let you know that the call will be recorded for quality assurance purposes. Are you okay with that?
Of course, you have
Okay,
it.
thank you. Okay, so let's start.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most adventurous thing you have ever done?
I love that question. I'm so excited to answer. I would say that the most adventurous thing that I've done was actually working abroad. I worked abroad in Malaysia back in 2022. And it was my very first time being far from my family, literally far, because I cannot just go back home and I cannot just go somewhere whenever I want to because I am actually tight. Being an OFW, it's not that easy. It's also not that difficult. I think it's just a matter of accepting the fact that you worked harder and that you have to leave your family for quite some time. And it's quite adventurous really because first and foremost the food there are mostly spicy, and I don't eat spicy food because I have these gastric problems here. And they are mostly having vegetables or even chilies, the jalapenos. They even have it as a meal, as a viand, but it's really extremely spicy. Apart from that, one thing that I appreciate about working abroad is the opportunity to meet other people from different races because working abroad, we know that it is very diverse. So I get to know people who have different perspectives, different religions in terms of their faith. We have differences, but we get able to get along, and we're even going out like traveling. In fact, I have friends who are Muslims, and I have friends who are Thai, Korean, Vietnamese, and they are so appreciative with Filipinos in everything that we do, especially whenever we talk. They're always amazed. They always compliment me, saying, "You speak so well compared with me." I said, "No, that's not the case. You're doing well. You're actually better than me." And it's very easy for them to get along. It's just that, unlike us Filipinos, we tend to always sugarcoat whenever we say something, and we find it difficult to say no, right? For them, it is very easy. If they mean it, it's really no. It's a hard no. It is really just straightforward for them. If you're asking them to go somewhere, or if you're asking them to do something that they know it's not part of their job, straightforward, they'll say, "Oh no, that's not my scope. It's out of my scope, and I won't do it." Just like that. And for us Filipinos, it's very much different, right? Because we seem to be difficult to refuse for something, especially if it comes to work, and especially if the person asking for a favor is really a close friend or someone that we know, someone special to us, someone dear to us. So it's quite a lot of adventure. And when I started working in abroad, that's when the time I had a lot of time to meditate, to study the Word of God, and also to start my YouTube channel because I had a lot of free time. So every time I go back from the office, my place is just really nearby. I just get to have a 10 or to 15 minutes walk. And as soon as I get home, I set up my tools. But I don't have much subscriber yet. I only have less than 500. But I've had numbers of videos. What else? One thing that I also find it adventurous was, oh, by the way, I didn't know someone from in Malaysia when I get there. So when I was there, I was given like 2 week hotel stay for free, but you really have to find your own accommodation after that. And I also need to learn how to travel on my own, to eat on my own. Yeah, that's very much opposite when I was back home because when I'm here with my family, I tend to eat together with kids, with the family, and all. But when I started working up abroad, it all came to a different dimension. I started eating alone, and I started to try a lot of dishes, but I cannot really finish because it's so spicy. And sometimes there are food that are too salty as well. But
Mm.
it was such a good ride. That's it.
Oh. Well, thank you very much for a very detailed answer. I really appreciate that.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Now, you mentioned something interesting earlier. You said that Filipinos tend to sugarcoat
Yeah.
what we say, right? So, based on your experience and also just general opinion, is that good or bad?
Well, it depends on the situation, but most of the time it's not really good, especially in terms of whether it's in the family or even if it's about job, if it's in a workplace. There are times we know very well that people tend to be abusive, sometimes, especially we have this kind of toxic culture in the Filipino. If you are something with with a title, you tend to pass some task instead of you doing it. You delegate, and that's the sugar coater. You delegate, but in fact, it's not part of that task. I think that's not good. The good side of it is that we are want to hurt someone. I think good that we need to take care of. We need to be mindful of because people nowadays are going through a lot. We've had so much, and I think that's good enough. So I think um, saying something good, not hurtful or not hurting to someone is really helpful. Especially we didn't know if these people are going through mental issues or going through some life issues as well. And not really, you cannot really tell. Are even smiling or even laughing at the top of their lungs. You wouldn't know they are suicidal, right? You wouldn't really know. So it's better to be very careful whenever you deliver a word. So I think it's a skill that you can deliver some harsh, and it turns out that it doesn't sound to be so harsh. So in terms of if it's a good or a bad, I think it depends on the situation. But if you are talking about the workplace, I think that's not always the case. If you are in the workplace, got something, you have to be straightforward. You have to be direct. In the first place, we are at the working environment, especially if you are someone with a title, you have to be direct. That's my
Mm. Okay. Something that can be not fixed to say. Is that something that can be changed?
yeah.
Because you implied it's the Filipino nature. Is that something we can change, or is that really just who we are?
Definitely, it can be changed. I think people just have to know that someone has to correct or someone has to rectify rather, because no one would even know sometimes that they are doing the wrong thing or if it's the right thing unless someone tells them. Because if we keep on tolerating actions that we do not really care too much about what people would feel or what people would have a take on, that would be something that would not help that person grow. So, in the workplace scenario or in the setting of the working I believe that we should have a leader or at least someone, even that a leader or that person has not in the position. But there would be always a way to help someone grow. We have different personalities, right? If you're familiar with the bird test, there are people who are dove, that has dove personality, an owl personality, and a peacock and an eagle. So we cannot tell who is not good and who is not so good. Who is good in doves are just living the way all these kind of birds are living the way they are, but act properly accordingly to the environment where they are. For example, in a BPO and you are a customer service representative and you have a bad news that you have to deliver to your customer, you have to be straightforward. Whether it's a bitter truth, you have to let your customer know. In example, that their plan because of um, non-payment, because of habitual late payments. Okay, if I will be the representative, I will straightforward tell the customer that, hey, Mr. Customer, I am seeing here that your account is currently not active. It was deactivated, was canceled of habitual or multiple delayed payments. And as per your contract, it was stipulated that we can only give you up to X number of options. And in fact, you are also emailed through text and through an IVR call that your account is subject for evaluation or subject for termination, but we haven't heard anything from you. And then, yeah, just plainly say it that. But I'm not saying that you will have to say it harshly because that's a different thing. So you say it straightforward, but with a softer voice, maybe, or it's the how you say it, right? Sometimes it's most of the time it's not the words that you use, but it's how you say it. There are painful words that can be delivered not that hurting because you are saying it the softer way, the gentlest way. So yeah, that's how we should. If someone is being rectified on that, if someone is being corrected that, hey, you should not be always sugarcoating something to the customer because you are kind of not telling them the truth, hopes. So, yeah, I believe we have to rectify that kind of action. I hope I answered your question.
Oh, yes, more than answer my question. So thank you,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, now I have to your YouTube channel.
Sure.
So, what made you, like in all seriousness, what made that, and what exactly do you do there? What kind of videos do you have there?
It was funny. I actually started the video pandemic just for the purpose of doing some board, and because being a Filipino teacher, I had the feeling that I need to do some videos at least to help others who would like to learn the Filipino language, right? Just like basic words or basic terminologies in the Philippines. So yeah, I get to start it off back in 20, and then I stopped. And then when I started working abroad, I tend to upload. The first videos I uploaded were when I was pandemic period. They still have the 2 week quarantine.
Uh-huh.
So I will literally belated for 2 weeks without any contact at all. Oh, I think that was only 1 week. Sorry, my bad. It was only for a week. But all the food were provided from the breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I can't even afford to eat these food. These are I know that these, but they're so spicy. Really, one thing that I can only eat is the rice, and then I top it with I top it with salt, and then with the ketchup. But the tomato ketchup, they it's still I documented my 1 week in the hotel because I was so amazed. I didn't get to see anyone, really not anyone. So I'm just in the hotel room. It was actually a big room. They've given me 2 bedrooms, and I was the only one there. And one more funny thing is that in Malaysia, if it's 5 still dark. But here in the Philippines, 5 a.m. is how you could see the sunrise. But there it's
Uh-huh.
5 a.m. is literally so dark, like really really midnight. Body clock starts at 4 a.m. So early I get up at 4 a.m. and then there's nothing I could do. So and when I yeah go outside, it's so dark outside. It's totally, and then my breakfast bell, but you cannot see that person when someone ring the bell, or someone sometimes they don't ring the bell. You just have to check the door. Also, there's a meal. It's a packed meal. There's a table behind beside the door, and then there's also a food. I had a lot, so I started documenting that. And I don't have much numbers of subscribers, but yeah, I just really felt that, oh, I think it's better. It's an opportunity. It'll be privilege for me to document those things because I know that it's just a once in a lifetime experience. And apart from that, so after I finished the quarantine, I also documented my walk in Kuala Lumpur, being a stranger to everyone. No one, I cannot even talk to everyone because I don't know where to go. But prior to that, I've been searching in Google Maps, or there's an app in Malaysia, we call it Move It. That's where I get to know where it or how to get to this place and to this one. And there's also a website that I found out where to get to rent rooms because in Malaysia there are no really apartments. Most of the houses there are condominiums and they are fully furnished. Yes, and I was so amazed. It's really a nice experience, right? Because feeling like you it was my opportunity for me, like I was living the life I've been dreaming because I'm living in a condominium with everything is already prepared. I have the bed, you have the bed, well, of course, the pillow you have to, and then there's a shower, there's a bath, and then there's a gym. Very secure. There's also a pool. You can always swim every day. But I don't know how to swim. That's just one of the things that I haven't enjoyed back then. Know how to swim. I just dip my my feet in the water for a few minutes. And there's also a sauna. So every once in a while, I get to bed in that YouTube videos.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry to cut you off. I just noticed that we actually gone over time already. Much for sharing all of that. I got more than I needed for the assessment, but we really so that we can I can move on to the next candidate. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a
Sure.
lovely rest of your day.
You
Thank you.
too. Thank you. Nice to meet you. See you around.
Nice meeting you too. I quite enjoyed this conversation actually. So
Yeah,
thank you.
bye.
Thank you.